Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to briefly analyze the main tactical themes in Liverpool's 4-0 win over Arsenal. So in today's video, first we're going to focus on Arsenal's pressing, then we'll shift to Liverpool's shape and see how they were looking to bypass Arteta's defensive approach, and then we'll shift to Jurgen Klopp's second half adjustments. So when we break down the game and we do look at the board, we have Liverpool starting in a 4-3-3 and Arsenal in a 4-4-1-1. So first we'll focus on Arsenal's pressing. As you can see, they should be expected to drop off into two banks of four. And when we focus on that midfield area, it should be 3v3 with Lacazette sticking towards Fabinho and Thomas Partey and Lokonga dealing with Thiago and Oxlade-Chamberlain. That does create a 2v1 up front for Aubameyang, as he does have to deal with Van Dijk and Matip. And what we ended up seeing from Arsenal was that Aubameyang was closing down Matip, and that's where you would see Saka stepping forward to close down Van Dijk. He would look to block off the passing lane into Tsimikas, but if Tsimikas was able to get on the ball, that would force Tomiyasu to push forward to close him down. Klopp was aware of this threat, so he looked to push Tsimikas higher up the pitch to peg back Saka, but it was Tomiyasu who was constantly stepping forward into Liverpool's half to close down the Liverpool left back, and that created a large gap for Mane to dart into, but it was Ben White who shifted across to close him down. That was a big gamble from Arteta, but in the opening half, that did work fairly well. Here you can see Arsenal's press on the right-hand side with Saka stepping towards Van Dijk, Lacazette now stepping towards Thiago, Aubameyang dropping off on Fabinho, and Tomiyasu pushing forward to close down Tsimikas. If you look to this example, it's Saka stepping towards Van Dijk, and here you also see Lacazette and Aubameyang dropping off on Fabinho and Thiago, who's looking to receive the ball in his own third, and Tomiyasu is stepping high to close down Tsimikas. When Tsimikas placed the ball around Tomiyasu, you could see White applying tight pressure with Mane as he tracks the Liverpool attacker into his own half. And you could also see Thomas Partey tracking the movement of Jota. As you could see, now you have 2v2 in that center back zone, Lacazette dealing with Fabinho, and over on the right hand side, it would be Smith Rowe looking to push forward to close down Alexander-Arnold. Here you could see Aubameyang stepping towards Matip to apply pressure, and you have Lacazette sitting on Fabinho, Saka tucking in central to deal with Thiago, and Thomas Partey is holding his position in that central midfield zone in case Jota looks to drop deeper to receive the ball. And if you focus over on the left, Smith Rowe's closing down Alexander-Arnold. The interesting component to Liverpool's midfield shape was that Thiago was looking to drop off deeper into his own half to receive the ball, and that created problems for Thomas Partey, who couldn't step forward to close him down due to Jota dropping off into that midfield area to attempt to create overloads. So Thomas Partey was forced to hold his position in that deeper midfield zone, and that would force Saka to shift laterally to deal with Thiago. That often left Van Dijk as the spare man, but what you could see in that midfield zone is Saka is now dealing with Thiago, Lacazette is on Fabinho, and then you would see Aubameyang sitting on Matip. There were times where Saka would push forward to close down Van Dijk with Thiago dropping off into that midfield zone. And what Arsenal would do here is that they'd have Lacazette shift away from Fabinho to close down Thiago. And because Van Dijk was on the ball, Aubameyang would drop off to close down Fabinho and Matip would be the spare man. The issue that Arsenal, however, could encounter here was that if Smith Rowe does look to push forward, that leaves Alexander-Arnold free and it creates a 2v1 against Nuno Tavares, as Salah was either holding the touchline or shifting into that gap between Gabriel and Tavares. Obviously, from that position, you could pull out Tavares to close down Alexander-Arnold late, but that creates a 1v1 with Salah against Gabriel. There was an opportunity in that opening half where Smith Rowe was caught out of position, and that's where a diagonal ball was able to be played out to Alexander-Arnold pushing forward, and from there it placed him in a position where he was able to deliver a cross that Thiago was able to get onto to force Ramsdale into a save. There was also the rare occasion where Saka was stepping to Van Dijk, and you would see Thomas Partey closing down Thiago, but even in those instances, you could see Jota looking to receive the ball between the lines, but from there, Thomas Partey was certain that Thiago couldn't get on the ball. However, there was a time where Liverpool were able to bypass that press where Saka was stepping to Van Dijk, and neither Thomas Partey nor Lacazette shifted over to Thiago, and that resulted in Thiago getting on the ball and finding Jota between the lines. That was the threat that Liverpool did pose, and that's why Arsenal did look to press in this manner. If we look to an example, it's Van Dijk pulling out Saka towards the ball, but no one stepping to Thiago as you have Lacazette to his left and Thomas Partey at the halfway line. When Thiago receives the ball, that's where you see Thomas Partey now looking to step with Lacazette. But the issue that Arsenal encounter here is that Jota's dropping between the lines, and with Thomas Partey caught out of position, Thiago's able to split both to find Jota in that zone. It should force Lokonga to shift over, but Lokonga doesn't react quick enough, and Thomas Partey is now forced to track the movement of Jota, and while he does do a very good job, Jota carries the ball towards the penalty area, and from there he should be sliding the ball into the path of Mane in left half space, but White does a very good job of cutting out his tame pass due to Thomas Partey's pressure. If not, they were dropping off into two banks of four, and in those situations, it made sense for Lacazette and Aubameyang to close down Thiago and Fabinho, who were dropping off into those deeper positions, and then that would allow them to have Saka and Thomas Partey focus on that left-hand side to deal with Tsimikas and Mane. In those scenarios, Mane would look to drop off deeper to pick up the ball on the outside of Saka, but with Jota looking to receive the ball in those deeper positions, Thomas Partey was able to pick him up, and if he did shift over to the opposite side of the pitch, then that would allow Thomas Partey to shift over to help out White, Saka, and Tomiyasu. Ultimately, the only real threat that Arsenal did pose in that opening half was in transition, and it was often in the space behind Tsimikas, as he was often looking to peg back Tomiyasu, but remember, Saka was in a narrow central position looking to close down Thiago or pushing higher to step to Van Dijk. So when Arsenal were able to win possession, Saka was able to break down that channel. However, when Arsenal were able to get into the final third, they often made the wrong decision and their attacks were halted near the Liverpool penalty area. So here you can see Lacazette tracking Thiago into his own half and making a challenge to win possession, but focus on Saka, who's ahead of Tsimikas, who's looking to break forward beyond Tomiyasu. As that play develops, you witness Lacazette at the halfway line being closed down by Jota and focus on Aubameyang's run in between the center backs. Lacazette fizzes a ball into the path of Aubameyang, and from here you could see that there's no pressure applied when Aubameyang receives possession, but now focus on Saka and Lacazette, who are freely making runs beyond Thiago and Fabinho into the final third. Lacazette does a very good job of holding off Matip, and from here you should be playing in Saka free on goal, as you could see Van Dijk is ball watching. However, the pass is a bit short and it forces Saka wide, but from there it still places him in a 1v1 with Van Dijk, but as Saka carries the ball into right half space, the only opportunity that he's able to muster up is a tame shot that hits off the Dutch defender. Therefore, when you question how Liverpool were able to turn this game around, yes, they were able to go ahead due to individual mistakes, but what changed in that second half was their pressing and the manner in which they looked to attack. Initially, what you saw from Liverpool in terms of their press was that you ended up having Jota near Thomas Partey, but Lokonga dropping off deeper. You would see Salah stepping towards Gabriel and looking to block off the passing lane into Nuno Tavares. And then Mane was dealing with Tomiyasu. If the ball was shifted over to White, you would see Jota looking to step towards him and block off the passing lane into Thomas Partey. However, what you ended up seeing was down the right-hand side, if the ball was shifted out to Nuno Tavares, Oxlade-Chamberlain would step towards him rather than closing down Lokonga, and that would force Jota to shift across to close him down. The other alternative that Liverpool had was to have Salah stepping towards Gabriel and blocking off the passing lane into Lokonga, and when the ball was shifted out to White, you'd see something similar from Jota, as he would step towards White but block off the passing lane into Thomas Partey, and that's when you would see Thiago occasionally look to step forward later on. Arsenal didn't encounter difficulties bypassing this press, and it often did encounter Lokonga and Thomas Partey getting on the ball to create that overload. And what we witnessed in the second half was that rather than focusing on those wider areas, it was now Oxlade-Chamberlain stepping tight towards Lokonga to apply pressure. You ended up seeing Mane and Salah stepping towards the center backs, and Jota dropping off on Thomas Partey, which meant that Thiago would push forward to close down Tomiyasu, and that resulted in much more success for Liverpool and created issues for Arsenal playing out of the back. Here's an example of Liverpool's pressing in the second half, with Mane and Salah stepping towards the Arsenal center backs, Jota sitting on Thomas Partey, and this time you see Oxlade-Chamberlain stepping towards Lokonga rather than Nuno Tavares. While Lokonga does a very good job of evading the pressure from Oxlade-Chamberlain, as he looks to play a forward pass into the path of Nuno Tavares or Smith Rowe, it's Alexander-Arnold who steps in to win possession in Arsenal's third. Here you see Lokonga Lokonga looking to play a short forward pass into the path of Aubameyang, but focus on Fabinho anticipating that pass, and when Lokonga plays the ball forward, it's Fabinho stepping into the path of the pass to intercept it, ensure that Aubameyang can't receive possession, and that's where Liverpool look to break in Arsenal's third. Fabinho ends up guiding the ball into the path of Oxlade-Chamberlain, and from there he's able to turn and take the ball across Thomas Partey, who's making a sliding tackle, and that's where you see Oxlade-Chamberlain carry the ball into the Arsenal box, and from here ahead of Lokonga and White, he should be beating Ramsdale, but he curls his effort inches wide of the net. Here you see Maitland-Niles receiving the ball from Smith Rowe in the midfield zone, and you have Jota applying pressure from behind and Oxlade-Chamberlain prepared to step. That ultimately results in Maitland-Niles losing possession, as you see Oxlade-Chamberlain making a challenge as he was able to shield off Jota, and that ultimately results in Oxlade-Chamberlain carrying the ball forward and igniting a 4v3 break that Liverpool squander. And then in terms of bypassing Arsenal's press in the second half, it was fairly simplistic. They were looking to bypass Saka and Smith Rowe to get the ball out towards the fullbacks, and then that would force Nuno Tavares and Tomiyasu to step forward to apply pressure. They would often use Matip as the bait to pull out Smith Rowe, and then that would allow them to get the ball out to Alexander-Arnold to pull out Tavares, and Salah would spin into the gap to run at Gabriel. And then over on the left-hand side, and we witnessed this in the build-up to their goal, you witnessed Liverpool bypassing Saka to get the ball out to Tsimikas. Tomiyasu would step late, and that would leave Mane and Jota to deal with the center backs, with Mane looking to break in behind White, and Salah looking to make runs across Nuno Tavares, and that was a successful ploy that led to Liverpool's onslaught in the second half. Initially, you witness Aubameyang and Odegaard caught out of position as they're both looking to close down Van Dijk and block off the passing lane into Fabinho, and that allows Van Dijk to slide the ball out to Matip. The issue that Arsenal encounter here is that it pulls out Smith Rowe, and if Smith Rowe's not able to cut the pass out, that would allow Matip to play the ball into Fabinho and take out 3 Arsenal attacking players. Matip does that successfully, and that allows Fabinho to play the ball into Alexander-Arnold, and that is now going to force Tavares to be pulled out of position. The issue that Arsenal encounter here now is that with Tavares pulled out of position, Alexander-Arnold's able to now play the ball into a large gap of space in the right channel, and that could allow Salah to break down that zone, and it does force Arsenal to pull out Gabriel. As that play develops, Salah does drag Gabriel into right half space, but from there he drags away both White and Gabriel, and he's able to poke the ball square into the path of Jota running off Maitland-Niles, as you do see Tomiyasu closed down by Mane, and from there Jota should be increasing Liverpool's lead, but he ends up firing a tame effort on goal that Ramsdale is able to push away. In the build-up to Liverpool's third goal, it's Aubameyang applying pressure towards Alisson. You could see Saka prepared to step near Van Dijk, and that's where you see Smith Rowe tucking in to close down Oxlade-Chamberlain and Odegaard near Fabinho. What Alisson does here is that he clips the ball over Saka into the path of Tsimikas, and because Tomiyasu can't step towards the Liverpool left back in time, he's able to nod the ball into the path of Mane and Jota, who are ahead of the Arsenal center backs. The ball ends up falling into the path of Jota, and because Gabriel doesn't apply tight pressure on the Liverpool attacker, you could see Mane prepared to run off the shoulder of White to break in behind the Arsenal backline, and you could also see Salah making a run across Nuno Tavares. As that play develops, it's Mane carrying the ball into left half space, dragging away Nuno Tavares, and sliding the ball across the Arsenal left back into the 6-yard box for a Salah tap-in. So as you can see, Liverpool did take advantage of Arsenal's individual mistakes for their opening 2 goals, but Klopp deserves credit for exploiting Arteta's defensive approach with his second half adjustments.